This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Sorry about last week's meeting being canceled. We had technical difficulties that have been fixed. Before I open the meeting to public speak, I'll say a few things. First, we have 30 minutes for public speak, up to 30 minutes, and we will give people 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes each. Second, I want to remind all of us that we do not have to agree with everything to exert our right to freedom of speech. This is a resolution on supporting the Constitution, and of course, that means the First Amendment. That being said, I ask everyone to support or challenge ideas and not people. I'm running double duty here. Once again, I remind you that we cannot answer questions during public speak. We can only listen. At the end of public speak, the public may listen, but not take part in the discussion of the committee. You can, however, email us after and let us know if you have more to say. That being said, this meeting of the Rules Committee is officially open. Do we have any minutes to approve? Seeing none.
Oh, yes, I forwarded them last week too.
Yeah, so we have minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
And before I have a point of privilege.
You may have a point of privilege.
Could you just turn on the closed captions briefly before we get into?
I thought we were on.
Just hit the CC button to your left.
Good. I thought, stand correct. Thank you for your point of privilege. I'll entertain a motion.
So, motion to amend the minutes.
We have a motion to amend the minutes. We have a second.
Yes, second.
We have a second.
Yeah, so,
All
I'd
those in
like,
favor, yes.
I'd like to just amend the minutes with the correct spelling of my last name. Just record is JADCZA.
I misput it, put YK. So, my mistake, my apologies.
That being said, is there a second? I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. That being said, moving on to public speak. We would have up to 2 minutes per individual for public speak. Up to. If you have said something, please try to restrict your remarks to new things if you can. If not, feel free to say what's on your mind. Please identify yourself with an address for the records.
My name's Julie Slavitt. I live at 14 Nichols Way in Easthampton. And I am here to express my support for the resolution. I moved here in February from Philadelphia. I grew up in Boston. I went to Smith, and I was very happy to come back to Massachusetts. My daughter lives close by. So I'm also one of the founders of Indivisible Easthampton, which is trying to build progressive power to save our democracy. So I'm not representing Indivisible Easthampton, but I did want to mention that. So one of the reasons I wanted to move back to Massachusetts is because of our history, to stand up for what's true and what's just, and our history in terms of the adherence to the rule of law and the Constitution of the United States. I think that we had the first Constitution, and I think that we've always been known for speaking truth to power and making sure that we have rules that everyone needs to follow. I believe that the job of the government is to enable us to, just like it says in the Declaration of Independence, to enable people to pursue a life of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think we need a little bit more happiness. And I believe that it's government's job to do that, to make sure that people are healthy and well and have what they need. And seeing the federal government led by President Trump and his GOP administration not doing that, not really protecting us and not following the rule of law. I think that Massachusetts needs to step up and local government needs to step up so that we can protect our neighbors and have a healthy, happy, safe community, and also to be a model nationally. I think that's really important. So that's all I wanted to say. Is that less than 2 minutes? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else here in the audience?
Mary Manzara, 359 Main Street, Unit 2A. What she said. That just cuts my remarks down a lot. I'm going to say that I live in Easthampton because I really like to be here. In 2005, I was looking for some place to go because I had economic issues where I was in Eastern Massachusetts. And Ed Downey, who was the retired postmaster, cornered me in Sunrise Bakery. He told me all about this town, and I thought, wow, I want to live here. And so then I came this evening because, as a patriot, I really think it's important to support our resolution supporting democracy, our Constitution, and the rule of law, for the reasons she said. Massachusetts really led the way in fighting for the independence of this country. We fought against some of the worst of the bad decisions that some of our founders made. We've continued to try to set an example for democracy to the best of our limited abilities and with a lot of mistakes. And I think, why should a town pass a resolution like this? I mean, that's really the question. Who are we to do that? I think who are we to do that is a town that goes back several centuries, has been part of trying to build this country, was a city that was built by immigrants, for heaven's sakes, welcome people from Poland, Germany, French Canada here. And all together, they built a city, a town at that time, that then came into terrible economic times, but survived. And I think what I've seen in city council is a model.
You have 5
Oh.
seconds.
Is a model of how we can do things. And we're always trying to be better. And so I thank you, JP, for bringing this resolution forward. And I hope we will pass it. I took some of your minutes.
Anyone else here?
Kathy Wazinski, Overlook Drive. I wanted to ask that if you move forward with this resolution, you stop at the first half page. You did a nice job. I think our Constitution definitely deserves to be celebrated. Beyond that, I believe that the rest of the document was a petty tantrum about Trump, with just Trump brain Trump syndrome. Really, I think it is your opinion, and it needs to be left off any government document. I think it's presumptuous for you to push forward that opinion as if it represents everybody here in Easthampton. And I think that's done way too often. If you want to express your opinion, put it in an op-ed. It doesn't belong in a resolution that represents all of the city of Easthampton, because those statements do not represent the majority of people here in Easthampton.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not seeing anybody, I will open this up to any member of the audience. Would you please raise your hand if you'd like to say something? Hand is at the bottom of the screen. So the hands to me. Going once. Going twice.
Meditation.
See a taker from the audience. I don't see anyone from outside, but she's saved by the bell here for a second by a member of the audience who we will recognize.
My name is Janelle Tryon, 13 Louise Avenue. And I feel compelled to speak just to say that I second or third what was said prior. And I feel that in reviewing the resolution, there isn't much opinion being stated. I do think that it is about intentions, and we've been given reason again and again these last 9 months to set intention of following what is democratic, what is constitutional, and reminding each other, starting at the micro and moving out to the national, of what we stand for and how we respect one another and how we defend one another. And I think it's actually really a beautiful gesture to start at the local level. And I think that it couldn't be more timely given the events of the last week and the attacks that our neighbors have come under just because of their nationality and race. And now that is being challenged at the level of the Supreme Court, that somebody can be judged by their accent, by the language they speak natively, by their race. I think there could not be a better time to start locally and to say that we will not stand for that unconstitutional behavior. So thank you for this resolution, and I support it wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Back to the audience, back to the online. If you'd raise your hand. Seeing none, no one else here. Public speak is now closed. I ask that you keep your cameras off if you're online and mute. And you stay and listen. Committee will meet and discuss this matter, and this evening hopefully make a recommendation for the full council for Wednesday evening. Open it up to the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you to everyone who's provided input both here in person and online and between this meeting and last week's meeting as well. I've been reflecting a lot on this resolution since it was introduced, and I come back to one of the reasons why I personally wanted to join local government. And it's my belief that public service and local leaders is the first line of defense against not just big things like defending democracy, but just making sure that things work, that the city runs, that we are able to work with each other, that we're able to be in community with our neighbors. And, you know, going back to that idea of defense, it is actually the place in local government where we do often find that we are the first line of defense when constitutional norms are at risk. And I think that this resolution outlines, as has been mentioned, both factual statements around the history of our Constitution here in the United States. And it is my firm belief that the bulk of the resolution doesn't necessarily put forward opinion, but puts forward actions that have been taken by our current government. And so I do want to separate out that idea that this is not just emotions, it's actions. And so I think that while sometimes, no matter what side of the fence you may fall on, you may not like those actions, this is the fact that these are actions that have been taken. It's really relevant to the fact that the Constitution is a document that still technically governs how we operate together. And I think that the anniversary of this Constitution is an opportunity for us to really reflect on what that means for us and how important and, yes, fragile that can be for us. And the fact that here at the local level, we have an obligation to remind ourselves of these principles that we have agreed upon to live by, these rules. These are things that we have put in place for ourselves. And so I do think that, you know, no matter whether it's this resolution or other resolutions that we've looked at in the past, not every document, not every resolution is going to be able to support the opinions and the beliefs and the values of every last single person in a city, a town, a country. But we are still saying that as a community, we're coming together and we're reflecting the voice and the value of people that we're listening to. So I think that just even hearing the voices that I've spoken today, I would say that I'm in support of this resolution and I'll be voting yes to.
Thank you. Council Terrell.
My thoughts on this, I agree with Counselor Jazik to a point. I also agree with, and she's gone now, Kathy to a point. I certainly think we should have a resolution in support of the Constitution and recognizing Constitution Day. But I think it should be limited at that. I think by a broad resolution, simply discussing, and I have a little thing here I'll read, the Constitution, you are going to appease a lot more people than you would appease by making pointed rhetoric towards the current administration, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether you support the administration or not. I just think when I did a little research, and I'll just read this. On September 17, 1787, the delegates to the Constitutional Convention met for the last time to sign the document they had created. We encourage all Americans to observe this important day in our nation's history by attending local events in your area, celebrate Constitution Day through activities, learning, parades, and demonstration of our love for the United States of America and the blessings of freedom of our founding fathers secured for us. I think that's a pretty broad statement, and I think that's a pretty broad statement that a large majority of people could get behind, and it isn't divisive. I just think the way the current resolution is worded, it further divides a community that I think is divided as it is.
Thank you. I brought this forward because I wanted the community to be able to discuss this matter. It is going to be Constitution Day, and in fact, many communities have declared it Constitution Week. I think it's time not just to have high rhetoric about the Constitution, but to deal with the specifics of any issues that are of concern to the community. And I've been seeing lots of issues with lots of community members wanting to have their voices be heard. This is something that I think the community can get behind, ought to get behind. The Constitution is not just a set of words on a piece of paper. It's not something to be looked at. For some reason, the words platitudes come to mind, just something to oh, that's nice. We're all in, well, it has real meaning for real people in real places. And one of those places is our community. I think we should stand firm to those principles and stay with those principles and let it be known. That being said, I hear that others would like to tone it down a little bit, the resolution. I hear your comments about having another set of language, but I think it's important to address the issues also. So, I wanted to consider a possibility of shortening the resolution somewhat. I would turn to page 2. And I'm not sure the specifics of the Supreme Court and Congress and the actions and the cases that were mentioned need to be included. I would be willing to consider dropping that paragraph. Certainly that other communities have stood up. That's there. If we go on to further look, people have shown repeatedly through protests and rallies, they demand democracy. I'm not anxious to remove that language. People have spoken and spoken loudly that the unconstitutional and unlawful actions and the appointees ought to be condemned, should be included. But the paragraph that I suggested could be removed. I would also ask for the consideration of additional language for consideration. So keep that on hold for 1 minute with that paragraph and go to the following to be added. I'd like to declare this a proclamation. Be it further resolved that we, the city of Easthampton City Council, by virtue of the authority vested in us as the City Council of Easthampton in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim the week, including September 17 through 23, as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution. The ideals they had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. So look to have that language included in the document. I'd open that up to discussion. First, for the removal of the paragraph, whereas in detailed all the cases. I'm open to either possibility, but I understood that the folks wanted to shorten the document and try to make it more inclusive. And I'm open to hearing. I would entertain a motion to either amend the document or leave it as is. I don't hear anything to amend. I'll leave it as is. For whereas the Supreme Court and Congress section, we'll leave that in. I would ask for the insertion, the appropriate point. Open to consideration of the appropriate point might be. So I would move that the resolution be amended to include the statement I read.
Just to clarify, you are proposing that we'll take out the section, the whereas, starting with whereas the Supreme Court and Congress.
Right, that entire paragraph.
And then add in the statement of adding constitutional week.
I would add that
Okay.
as a declaration at the end. You need to read it. I have to have this for you. No, the amendment.
I'm open to this proposal.
To amend for insertion at the end of the document.
I just don't see where taking out that one paragraph of.
We have a motion on the table. No second. I was looking for a second. I'll second the insertion. Let's discuss that and we'll look at your question in a moment. All right, we have any further discussion on the insertion of the amendment?
I think the verbiage of the actual insertion is very well written.
I like the idea of having again, this resolution is about the Constitution, so I like the insertion language. It can just be a reminder for Easthampton to reflect the Constitution.
I'm hoping that our schools would take it and they would be reflective.
In that case,
But I'd leave it to the schools to make the decisions. So, city council, not the school committee. We have an emotion, second, no further discussion. Is there a vote on the insertion? All those in favor? Aye. One opposed, two in favor, the motion carries 2-1. Included in the document. Any other amendments? I just want to be sure. You asked first.
I'd like to just propose to amend the final paragraph right here to resolve and just add in that this resolution will be submitted to our Easthampton superintendent as well, given the remarks about doing this to be something that's
That they consider. I would second that. And then it would be their choice to decide. Seeing a motion in a second, is there further discussion on the amendment? Councilor Terrell,
No, I just,
on the amendment for the
no.
sending to the superintendent.
Be further resolved that the clerk of the city council shall cause this resolution to be submitted to U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, U.S. Senator Ed Markey, State Representative Omar Gomez, Senator John Vilas, Governor Maura Healey, Attorney General Andrea Joy Campbell, and I'm sorry, I forgot the name of Easthampton.
Michelle Balch. Michelle Balch.
Thank you. And Easthampton Superintendent Michelle Balch.
My apologies, Michelle. Superintendent Balch. That's the exact language. All those in favor? Aye. No, not the insertion. 2-1, motion passes. Any other amendments? Seeing none, I'd be happy to entertain a motion for the document. For the resolution.
I'm sorry.
Motion regarding the adoption, the recommend that we recommend to the full city council. So moved. I have a motion to recommend the document as amended to the full city council at the next meeting. Any further discussion?
My only thought is, if the point of this is for people to reflect upon the Constitution and what we're afforded because of that these days, I just think, like I stated earlier, I think it should be a broader statement. I think by making the statements that are made within this current resolution, how it's written, whether you agree or disagree, I think it's very divisive. And I can't support it because I think it's divisive, and I think it overshadows the true purpose of what we want to do, or what is apparent that we would like to do with this, and that's give people cause to reflect on the Constitution. And I don't think that's the first reaction with this worded as it currently is worded. We can agree to disagree.
That would be different. Comments?
I appreciate Councilor Schnell's statements and viewpoints, and I think that the way that I see this resolution is that, again, with especially with this amendment, taking out this particular paragraph, which I do think veers a little bit into more inflammatory verbiage is written. The reality is that we are in right now, and any resolution that is speaking to something like this document, this Constitution, I think that this overall resolution really puts this in context in this point of time right now in 2025, where we are having this discussion and what the state of the Constitution and the realities of our world are right now. So in my mind, again, I'll say it as I said before, I think that the bulk of the rest of this resolution does go and list out facts that are relevant to the Constitution. So I'm comfortable with it.
I heard that, I heard also that the thought of paragraph was removed. Which paragraph? That was not, we did not vote on.
Oh, got it. Okay. My mistake.
So it stands as it was essentially written with the introduction of the new language regarding proclamation, constitution, and the submission to the superintendent. That being said. Obtain motion. Also, I think we are. We have to move to approve it to vote in any case.
Okay. Motion to vote.
We'll make a motion to approve. Second,
I didn't want to make a motion to approve, no.
okay, withdrawal, I take it. Okay. You're
Yes.
withdrawing the
Yes.
motion.
Make the motion.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll second that. Now there's a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
No.
No. 2-1, motion carries. This matter will be brought to the full council on Wednesday. Thank you very much. Any other business? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. This meeting is now. Thank you very much.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.